Hi, chess lovers! Welcome back. I'm Lisa. The second world champion Lasker was the successor of Stanis's theories of positional games. He has studied Stanis's theories thoroughly, and he obtained a better understanding, and he further deepened these theories. He was skilled at utilizing his opponents' uncoordinated pieces and surprising his opponents with beautiful tactics. Now let's have a look at his first game. This game was played by Lasker, and his opponent is a famous later world champion Capablanca. And as white, Lasker played in this position. So you can notice in this position that black's pieces are almost all paralyzed, because, for example, this bishop is useless because black's not able to play c5 now. And also, the two rooks are also useless because white's rooks are controlling this h-file. Only this knight can be put in use, such as knight c4 and then knight e5. But in this position, white has a really good move. So now you can pause the video for a moment and think about what white should play in order to strengthen the position and find a winning plan. So white plays e5. Do you think this move is similar to that of a very famous classic game? Yes, it is similar to the most famous game of Stanis. So you must have seen this game and you must remember this position. And white plays d5 in this position in order to give the knight this very strong d4 square. And you must remember that this game was finished by the rook checking
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So really nice game by Stanis.
So I'm quite sure that Lasker had studied this game, and so in this position he played e5. So same idea here in order to enable the knight to play e4, also very strong square. In the real game, Capablanca takes with a d-pawn. It still doesn't work if black takes with the f-pawn, because if you take with the f-pawn, white can play knight e4, still threatening this knight f6. Black can only defend this square by this knight d5. And white has a real good move, that is rook h7, controlling this line. Black cannot take with the rook because if you take, I can take, and now white will be checkmating in a few moves. So if black plays a random move, for example bishop a6, white can play f6, pushing this pawn and threatening, for example, rook takes and f7. So still white is winning. If black plays bishop c8, trying to protect this rook, white can play rook h8, threatening this bishop, and still white is winning. So now let's return to this position. In the real game, Capablanca takes with the d-pawn, d takes e5, and Lasker played knight e4. And now black cannot protect this pawn with the king because white can play rook h7, it's very easy. And also you can't protect this pawn with the rook because white can play knight d6, still is very simple winning. So the only move for Capablanca is knight d5. And now you can think about whether you should move this knight or this knight to c5, capturing the rook. So the answer is that white should move this knight to c5. Because this knight in e4 has to control this square, so it's better to play knight 6 c5. And now black cannot move the rook because if you play here, I can just take the bishop, and then white is winning here. So in the real game, black resigned within a few moves. Capablanca felt really terrible after losing this game because his pieces were completely paralyzed and he didn't have a single chance to fight back. The second game was played by Lasker as white and against his opponent Steinis, the pioneer of positional games. But ironically, in this game, Steinis made his position a mess. The two bishops and the two knights are almost paralyzed, and you can notice that this diagonal is really dangerous for black. And I think now this f5 pawn is the last hope for black to activate his pieces. Because for example, if you take the pawn, black will be more than happy because now all the black pieces can be active. For example, take with a knight. So obviously, Lasker could not play this move in this position, but he had a very good move. So now I can pause the video for a moment and think about how I should play in this position in order to gain advantage. So white plays knight e5, a really beautiful tactical sacrifice. And as I mentioned that this diagonal is really dangerous for black, and now black really suffers from this diagonal. Black takes a knight, queen takes. So actually here it's better for white to play g5, controlling this f6 square. And next move, white can just take this pawn. Black still doesn't have a very good way to protect his pawn because, for example, if you play there, white can just play bishop f4, continue to threat this e5 pawn. So the only move is knight f6 to protect this diagonal. White is a knight, knight g8, planning to take this pawn with the bishop or the knight. So white can play e takes f5, then bishop f6. If you want to take this pawn here, I can just play bishop d4. Wow, really good move because you know this line is really strong for white and really dangerous for black. So black takes with a bishop and takes knight e4. This position is much better for white, and I think white is going to win this game. So the real game, Lasker played queen e5. It's still a really good move, but just a more human-like. You know, g5 is I think it's a computer move. So queen e5, knight f6, also the only move. And actually here it's not so good for white to play g5. And here you can pause the video for a moment to think about how black should save this position. So black can play knight takes d5, and white is forced to trade the queen. Because if you move the queen, I can just take the bishop, and now I think it's winning for black. So bishop d4 is the best defense for white. Black can simply take the queen, bishop takes, knight b4, attacking this c2 bishop. Bishop b1, knight c6, still attacking this e5 bishop. And so white can only move this bishop to c3 and f4. Now this position is really better for black because white no longer has a strong center in d5, and also black pieces are all very active now. For example, this knight is very good and this bishop is very strong. And also this f4 pawn is also really dangerous for white. So in the real game, white plays bishop d4. First protecting this queen and then trying to play g5. This is much better. Black plays f takes g4, h takes g4, and bishop takes. Actually, it's much better for black to play king g8 here. White can play g5, and black can't play knight 5 because white will be checkmating in a few moves. So the best move is knight d5 here, still the same strategy. Take this pawn, e takes, and trade the queen. So knight g4, rook e4. Now black can take back this pawn. f3, knight h6. For black, this position is much better than the real game, but still white is better because white has a really strong center and white pieces are much better. Like this bishop is really strong, and this rook occupying this e file. So in the real game, Steinitz took the pawn with the bishop. Lasker played queen g5, threatening this knight and this bishop. The game continues with queen d7, bishop takes, king g8, bishop d1. And now white is much better and almost winning because white not only have the strong center, but also white is a pawn up, and still black pieces are paralyzed. So Steinitz resigned within a few moves. So these are the two games of Lasker which perfectly embodied his ideology. If you like the video, you are welcome to subscribe on MustaChess channel. Next time, I will show you how Lasker employed psychology into chess.